Welcome. I'm going to do a very, very brief video. I'm going to entitle it, Was AD 70 the world's worst time? It's going to be very brief. And then later today I'm going to be doing a video, or maybe the next couple days, a very extended video on why the Christian does not have to keep the Ten Commandments. We're going to be getting into the law discussion later on. But was AD 70 the world's worst time? And in this video, we're going to give just a brief answer to that question. Was AD 70 the world's worst time? As this is a common objection to the preterist view, full or partial, of the Olivet Discourse in Matthew and Mark's account. The reason for me doing this video is because I've seen a post by a Leon Barman in the group Unpreterist, in which he made a post of two pictures. One, a painting of the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, compared to a picture of an atomic bomb going off, and asking which is worse. And I would say this is a false comparison when we actually do exegesis of the text, instead of getting excited, as the Dispies do, at what is going on in the world today. Let me quote the text he quoted, and I'm going to quote it from the New American Standard Bible. For those days will be a time of tribulation, such as not occurred since the beginning of the creation, which God created until now, and never will be. And Matthew 24:21 is a parallel text. Here's the point. Jesus is drawn from Ezekiel and using hyperbolic language. It's as simple as that. Now let me get Ezekiel up, Ezekiel 5:9. Now compare these two. Mark 13:19, Matthew 24:21, and Ezekiel 5:9. Ezekiel 5:9. And because of all your abominations, I will do among you what I have not done, and the like of which I will never do again. Ezekiel 5:9. Doesn't that sound familiar? Tribulation such as not occurred since the beginning of creation, which God created until now and never will be. Mark 13:19. He's obviously echoing, alluding, drawn from Ezekiel's prophecy, which deals with the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC. And so the context and what follows in Ezekiel 5 verse 9 is the covenant curses of Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28 through 30 for violation of Torah. The first half of Ezekiel, you could say the first 23, 24 chapters, is dealing with this one theme, the destruction of Jerusalem at the hands of the Neo-Babylonians in 586, and their captivity starting around 605 BC. Now Jesus was echoing Ezekiel 5:9, which says the destruction of Jerusalem would be worse ever and never happen again. Sound familiar? And yet the Roman siege was much worse in fatalities and captivities. AD 70 was much worse than what happened in 586. We know that for a fact historically. It was much worse in fatalities and captivities. You know, it was during the feast there, the spring feast, the feast, and they were trapped inside during the siege and whatnot in Jerusalem. I mean, there's Josephus says 1.1 million were killed, and about 700,000, I think, were taken captive. I forget which book in Jewish Wars, but some scholars say that could be elevated, those numbers, but still, it was a huge amount of people that were killed, and it was much more that were killed and taken captive than back in 586 BC. So yeah, there's no need to drag this out at all. When we understand Christ's three offices of prophet, priest, and king, and acted as an Old Testament prophet, he used hyperbolic, poetic, oriental way of speaking when dealing with the last things. So we need to get that firmly in mind. So Ezekiel 5:9 is Christ's backdrop text that he's alluded to in Matthew 24:21 and Mark 13:19. Ezekiel was promised by Yahweh that he'll never do this again, and yet it happened again in AD 70. So that argument by Leon does not work. And by the way, I recently left full preterism, so I'm not defending that whatsoever, but I still would say I strongly lean towards the partial preterist view. But that should suffice for now, and maybe later on, if I can, I'm going to do a video on why the Christian does not have to keep the 10 Commandments. Okay, thank you.